iHeartRadio Broadway, driven by Mercedes-Benz.
It's been truly a dream come true. I love going to the theater every night and getting to bring this character to life that I got to help create, and I get to perform with some of the greatest collaborators ever, and I've loved working with Warren Carlyle and Barry Manilow and Bruce Sussman. It's been wonderful. I got an audition for the workshop of this show about a year ago, and it was for a Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. before I had a two-show day as Fanny while I was playing the role full-time of Fanny. And I said, wow, this project sounds really interesting. The role sounds really wonderful. But I'm so sorry. I physically can't do it. I can't wake up early and deal with all the stress of that audition before two-show day as Fanny. I'm going to give a terrible audition, and then I'm going to give two terrible shows as Fanny. Is there any way I could do a self-tape audition? And they said, oh no, but you know what, we're going to hold another day of auditions on a Monday. So they let me come in on my day off and audition, and I got there and I realized I was the only person auditioning. I went into the room, and it was Warren Carlyle and Bruce and the whole team, and Barry Manilow was zooming in, and Blake Roman, who plays my husband in the show, was there to read with me, and we did a whole work session. It lasted like half an hour. I did all the material, and they gave me notes and worked with me, and it really didn't feel like, sometimes you go on these auditions and there are these presentational quick things where, you sort of get in and get out, and you feel like, I wish I could just go back and do it again. But Warren gave me adjustments and let me try things, and we got to play and explore, and I feel like we got the chance to get to know each other in that audition process. And I went home, and I got a call like 2 hours later that I got it. Yeah. It's been a real whirlwind because Funny Girl closed on September 3rd, and we started rehearsals for Harmony on September 5th. So I had Labor Day off to rest from my labor, and but honestly, I'd have it no other way because this is the dream, to get to be working on Broadway, which is the biggest stage in the world, and to get to go from playing Fanny Brice, who is, I think, the greatest role ever written for a woman in a musical, period, to go from that experience where I was stepping in to a role that somebody else had laid out the groundwork for me, to then jump into a new process where I was the one who got to lay the groundwork. And, when my understudy goes on, she'll hopefully get to experience the richness of whatever I've hopefully found along the way. And I felt like I learned so much about myself from playing Fanny and getting to grow in that role and build confidence over the year and a half that I was in that show and developing as an actor and a singer. So then I got to apply that to what I was doing in Harmony, and it just felt like a really creative and fun process. I always do this. We released my last album last year, Hand in Hand, which is a duo album with my husband, Jason Yeager, and it was being released last August, which turned out to be the month that I was playing Fanny Brice full time. And last time we had a Birdland show that was, to promote and celebrate the album release. So on my day off from playing Fanny full time, I did this big show at Birdland. So this time around, I actually knew in advance, that I was going to be part of a new musical. And so I said, we thought about doing a big holiday show, and I said, you know what, I actually think I can't. I have learned from that experience, and so we didn't do any big concert this year, which has actually made it a lot more relaxed because, one concert, there's still a lot of rehearsing and getting all of your band charts together, which involves me bothering my husband to please get on doing those band charts because he's always that's the one, I love working with him, and he's my favorite collaborator. But it always stresses me out how long it takes for him to write these arrangements. It's always leading into the final band rehearsal, and he's like up until 3 a.m. finishing them. So it's been great though that I get to celebrate multiple things, Harmony, and also this album. And I play sort of now this iconic Jewish character in Harmony, and I'm also releasing this song on the EP called Tumbalalaika, which is a traditional Yiddish Ukrainian folk song. And so I feel like I get to celebrate my heritage in those ways. And even with some of the more Christmassy songs, I still tried to incorporate some of my Jewish heritage in them. I have this music video coming out for The Man with the Bag, and I have all, some little Jewish touches in the artwork and stuff. There's an animated music video that's coming out, and so I'll be you can see me putting a Jewish star, Star of David on the Christmas tree, and there's a little kid hiding behind a menorah but waiting for Santa, things like that. We have a great band on this album. First of all, on Tumbalalaika means play the balalaika, and the balalaika is an instrument that is it's a Russian stringed instrument, kind of like a banjo. And our upstairs neighbor is a guitar player, who had a balalaika sitting in his apartment. And so, and his wife is also a musician. So we play with them a lot, actually. And so we invited him to play balalaika on the recording. One of my Funny Girl bandmates, Ron Wilkins, who played trombone in the pit of Funny Girl, he's on the record. Whenever I walked in for my Act 2 entrance coming in from the pit, we would have this elbow bump we would do because he didn't have hands free while he was playing the trombone. And Andy Warren, who plays the trumpet, who's been in my band a long time, and Kenny Pexton plays saxophone and clarinet, also been in my band a long time. Jay Sawyer on drums, and Danny Weller on bass, both of whom have played with Jason since before I knew Jason. So these are people who I've been friends with a really long time, and they're top class musicians. And it's been great. And working with Jason is it's the longest and best artistic collaboration of my life. I walked into Starbucks on Herald Square after sort of a crappy audition for Peter and the Starcatcher 11 years ago. It was January. It was a cold day. I was waiting for a phone call, and I just went into Starbucks to warm up, and I heard this guy sitting next to me on the phone talking to a singer saying, "Oh, yeah, I'm a jazz pianist, and I play with singers all the time." And I thought to myself, oh, well, I have this gig coming up, and I'm not sure if the guy I usually work with can do it. Maybe I should just introduce myself. Oh, is that weird? When does the universe just offer you what you need? And so he got off the phone, and I said, "Oh, excuse me, I heard you say you're a jazz pianist. I'm a singer, and I love jazz." And 11 years later, we're married, and we've done all these albums together. And it's like he reads my mind when he plays piano, because most of the rehearsals that we do are just sort of sitting in our living room in our pajamas. And so we've grown musically together, and I think we've challenged each other in a lot of great ways. We bring out the best in each other, and Jason is the best. He's the most kind, most collaborative guy. And so any idea that I have, he's always willing to run with it, but he comes from a more, jazzy, he comes from this, he pushes me artistically, in a jazz way, and I, come from my acting background, and so I'm always sort of pushing him artistically from a storytelling perspective. So, I think we bring out the best in each other. Well, I grew up, we didn't do Christmas. We did the standard Jewish thing of going to, Chinese food and the movies, and you're like, "Oh, hello, Cantor Silverman, how are you?" But Jason grew up in an interfaith family. His mom was raised Jewish, his dad was raised Catholic, and so he got Christmas. And so when we got together, I started going up to his family's house. They live near Boston, and started doing Christmas there. And now we do that every year, and it's really, they do Christmas. And of course his mom, who was the Jewish one, is the one obsessed with, decorating the house and decorating the tree. But they also have this fun dancing rabbi you can click that, does a whole, so it's just a really sweet, wonderful time. And Jason had this woman who he called Grandma June. She wasn't his grandma, but she lived to be 95 5 years old, and she had an 8th grade education. She took care of Jason growing up a lot. She was his nanny, and she was sort of a star in the town. She would go to she knew everybody at Dunkin' Donuts. That's where she spent every morning, and they all just loved her. And she was just she would drop in every Christmas. And she passed away a couple years ago, so part of our Christmas tradition now is going to visit her grave, and we just leave her a little something every year. She would always bring these hilarious little gifts, these whatever dancing, snowmen or whatever. And so we always try to get something that would have been the Grandma June gift that season.
iHeartRadio Broadway, driven by Mercedes-Benz.